If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option, as Sori says. $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at sori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed, and y'all shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener.
Next
birthday stream
is a band called Hexen. The name of the song is Stream of Unconsciousness. And that's back to back with the other song that was just Stream of Consciousness by Dream Theater. So let's see if there's a different... That's interesting. I wonder if there's going to be like... Is it going to feel like the flip side or not? All right. So next up, quite fittingly, is Stream of Unconsciousness, says our DJ, by the band Hexen. Oh. I think this is... Oh, this is from their Being and
Little
Nothingness
Earth in this bitch.
2012 album.
Wait, say that again now.
Being of Nothingness.
Being
and Being and Nothingness.
Being and Nothingness.
2012.
All right.
Let's check it out. Left,
Being and
right,
Nothingness.
left, right, left.
Being and Nothingness. All right. Hexen, Stream of Unconsciousness.
Yep.
Let's do it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Talk to the people.
Oh, okay. Well, then you guys are random. Ask me anything while we wait for I don't even know what. Let's see what do the people have to say. this one.
Whoa,
This one was like
man.
therapeutic feeling.
Yeah. This one was. He's talking about some real stuff in this song.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones where I'm like, did you timestamp this thing yet?
Yep.
This might be a long review. Depends on what we do. Okay, what hit you in this song?
Well, for one thing, I liked the album cover. Did you see this? It's pretty cool. Like, it looks
a
like this
badass
really
album
cold
cover.
room.
Yeah, that
but
is a
over
badass
here,
album
look at this.
cover.
It's like a door into another door, which is another door. This like literally even the color scheme matches dreams that I have. So it's pretty weird
Really?
to see it like artistically put out.
That's
This is
interesting.
exactly the color scheme, exactly.
That's
and sometimes it
interesting.
looks cold like that too. Anyway, so that was pretty interesting. Although I've never had a spiraling staircase. It's always just rooms. Anyway, yeah, this was a really interesting song. I kept like feeling like I was catching some of it, and then there was a little bit that I was like, and then the ending I thought was a pretty crazy ending. But I'd like for you to probably like start, and I'll jump in with you.
I just want to show everybody. Here's the pic that we were talking about, like the
Yeah,
album
look
cover.
over there, like right here. You see the door that's going into another door, which is another door.
Yeah, it's like super
Yeah, it's
detailed.
pretty. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it's kind of like hanging. The room is kind of like hanging in the middle of the universe.
That's
almost,
right. Yeah.
like suspended.
Yep.
And then you've got time down there. Like you see, the clock is broken.
I did not.
There's a broken clock down
Oh,
there,
I didn't realize it was broken. Yeah.
and that's time. I'm assuming that's.
Yep.
There's a lot of. You can hang out. You could hang out just on
Right
the
there.
album art,
Yeah.
which. That's one of those things, man, where getting your music digitally is so freaking convenient. Like you guys, you new jacks like Delaney and them. You guys like you're just used to. Oh, I like this song. I'm gonna put it into YouTube and then download it. Or I have an iTunes account. I'll just download the song immediately. It wasn't like that. You had to buy an entire record. Well, one of the things that came with that was the album art.
We live in a
And-
physical universe, so there is something special about having something physically in your hands.
Yeah, and so when you got that book and you looked at that album art, sometimes the band was trying to communicate. They would put little Easter eggs in there like Tool and all that. You know what I'm saying? It was, so that aspect of like the ritual of getting your music and stuff like that is pretty much gone. Which, that's evolution, right? That's good. It's just that part of it is like one of my best, most wholesome experiences as a metalhead was getting Follow the Leader and opening it for the first time. That was anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this song here. Stream of Unconsciousness is the name of the song. What did you get from it, or are you waiting for me to?
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for you to kind of. There was some of it that really like made a lot of sense and stuff, but I just kind of. I don't have like sometimes I have like a way that I'm going with it, and I don't have that yet. So with my conscience frozen, I began empirically to disassemble truths, ethics, and reality, since our lives are confined to the depths of our minds. That line I thought was crazy. Certainly is obsolete, far too long and false things I believed. I do think that our lives are confined to the depths of our minds, like to a degree. I do think that we can limit ourselves or be a part of a much broader environment. For instance, whenever my anxiety has been its worst, I feel like I'm trapped in a room inside of myself, and it's kind of like fearful, and so I thought of that when he said that, since our lives are confined to the depths of our minds, because if you I don't know, depending on how free you are defines how free you are. But anyway, what's your take?
Well, we're just now starting to get into Hegel, and Hegel, to some degree, is a reaction to Kant. And of course, Kant, one of Kant's main contribution to the discussion was the impossibility that what we perceive is the actual thing in itself.
In its totality, right?
Right? Not even necessarily its totality, but in its actual reality. So for example, if you look at the moon, you're seeing a part of the moon, not in totality, but if you ask 100 people, 99 of them are going to say, yeah, that's the moon. That's pretty much what the moon looks like. And Kant would say, no, it's impossible that what you're seeing in your mind's eye is what the thing actually is, right? Like Kant didn't believe that. He thought it was impossible. Now, he just looked at that from a philosophical perspective. So, for example, if you say something like the sun is yellow, how do I know that your version of yellow and my version of yellow are exactly the same thing? There's no way to know. Then there's the whole dress test situation where it was like, is it a gold and white dress or is it a blue and black dress? And that was really interesting because it was going back and forth, and finally the people who made the dress said actually it was a
blue and black, right?
Blue and black dress. We saw white and gold.
Yeah.
So, like, your empiricism as a philosophy, right? Like, if I start with a couple presuppositions, one presupposition.
I always the dress thing, it still messes with me because I'm like, just because the creators of the dress said that it is definitively blue and black, doesn't that just tell us that that's the way they perceive it?
Right.
So we don't even know. So we're all like relating our perception to their perception. It's just
I agree.
weird and interesting.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The most that lady told us was her intention.
Yes. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what that's the value of that. But whether we can actually know the thing in itself,
I'll send it to you, baby.
That's another question.
Or are you gonna get it?
Yeah. But that's one example of it. But there are other examples of it. Like
there was the share. There's a sneaker.
Laurel.
There's Yanny Laurel.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different things. Like when you play it, like the Yanny Laurel thing. If you go on YouTube and just type Yanny Laurel and you'll play it. The first time you hear it through, like just hear what you hear, and then try to hear it again, but hear the other word. And it's weird because it does morph. It's bizarre. So this dress right here, some people see this as like, but you could put the other one up too. Kind of shows people how it is. But some people see that as like black and blue.
Black and blue, yeah.
Which is apparently what the original creator's intention of the dress was. But it's weird to me because it looks so much like gold and white to me in some weird lighting.
I know, it's crazy.
But
see, and there's
Jet.
There's
really?
Jet.
You see blue and black?
Jet sees blue and black. There it is. This is what I'm talking about. Ben Bear saw it as black and blue. Black and blue to middle. To us, it's plain as day that it's white and gold.
Archero sees white and gold.
Archero sees the accurate, which is white and gold.
That's so crazy.
But you have other people that see this as black and blue.
I don't understand.
I don't even see how you guys see it that way.
Yeah, I don't either.
But this
white and gold, blue and black, says
Leah says blue and black.
Interesting.
Joe Biden says black, but that's Joe Biden.
He sees black.
We're going to have to leave that one alone. Okay. It's a colonizing color to me. Yeah.
That's so crazy. Okay, what color is the jacket? All of you people that see it as blue and black, what color is the jacket?
What do you mean the jacket?
There's a little jacket over it.
Oh, yeah.
What color is that jacket? That jacket's white. White and gold, right?
Lost Hate has black and blue.
Unbelievable.
Alexander has Jester's
brown and blue.
Yep, I've heard that too. Blue and gray. Look, so that's the point of this song. The empiricism is I'm going to be able to validate this particular hypothesis, using my
Jet sees a blue jacket. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just like it's hard for me if I didn't know you guys. Like literally, I'm actually freaking out about this moment right now because all the time I wasn't really believing that people actually see it differently than that. I was like, nah, I don't know.
The jacket is solid blue, and we see the jacket is
solid
white. So
that's so wild. But sometimes I wonder, like, because sometimes you'll point out an outfit and you'll be like, that is a really badass outfit, and I'm like, what? That clashes.
What? Okay. Here, let's test this out for everybody. What color is my hoodie? Okay. Now, you could say orange, white, or gold. Okay? Orange, white, or gold. What color is my hoodie? And they're going to get it right, I guarantee you. So, why does everybody get this right, but they don't get the dress thing right?
I wouldn't
from
pick
our
any
standpoint.
one of those
See,
colors.
everybody's saying gold, beige. See what
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying?
would've said
Light
brown.
brown. So they're all seeing that.
I don't get it.
And for us, the dress is basically a light version of my hoodie.
Yeah.
You know, but everybody's pretty much seeing the same thing when they look at the hoodie. But when they look at the dress, they're seeing something completely
How
random
is that
and crazy.
possible?
But that's the argument of the song. Like we're demonstrating what this guy's saying right now.
Yeah.
Like, with my conscience frozen, I begin empirically to disassemble the truth, ethics, and reality. Since our lives are confined to the depths of our minds, certainty is obsolete. Right? So
Yeah.
if you can't know something as simple as what color you're looking at, how in the world can you then say, with the powers of observation, that we know what the hell is going on in the universe?
When we can't even visualize
there's like
everything
50
in the
of us
universe.
in this room, and we can't even figure out what the color of a. That's the argument this guy is making.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say certainty is obsolete, which is where the tracks fall off. Because anytime somebody says certainty is obsolete, that in itself is a certain statement. Mm-hmm. Is obsolete, that's a certain statement. There's no possibility for another counterfactual to exist if that thing is true. So I think the conclusion that he's coming to, that a lot of people come to when they really sit and think this through, is to say, so Leah says there's a scientific reason behind the dress thing. I don't recall what it was. Yeah, there's some. I forgot what the theory is. Remember, these people have theories for why these things happen. Okay, but the point is that we have to recognize that there is a difference between the real world and the phenomenological world. And when I say phenomenology, I'm talking about what the world looks like from a human perspective. So, for example, it's like, can you sit still?
Oh.
Right? Well, yes, I am still right now, but everybody knows that I'm moving like hundreds of miles an hour through the universe on this globe we call an Earth. But phenomenologically speaking, from my sense data, I feel like I'm standing still and not moving at all.
Yeah.
Right? The other one is the sunset, right? Sun up or sun down. The sun doesn't go up or down. What the weatherman is talking about is the phenomenology. In other words, what it looks like from our perspective without, our scientific lens to look through. So if we cannot see the thing in itself, if all we're seeing is phenomenological representations of things, then how can you have certainty is sort of the argument. And that absolutely works from a materialist perspective. It does not work from our perspective. So yeah, as a materialist, that is kind of a, I don't really know how you unwrap that pretzel. But at some point, you're going to have to try to figure out how to do that. For far too long, in false things I believed, inferences derives from delusion and dreams. The cosmos is not bounded by what we perceived in convoluted mental streams. That's true. So he's basically saying he came to the realization that the things that he was told were false. But simultaneous to that, he denied certainty.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see how that's contradictory at all. He says, certainty is obsolete. Far too long in false things I believed. Like, he literally stacked those things on top of each other and doesn't see the contradiction.
Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah.
If there's no such thing as certainty, or if certainty is useless, because you said it's obsolete, then how in the world can you say that you believed in anything false?
Right.
That's a certain statement. If you say that you believed in falsehood, that means that there is a truth, because falsehood is a derivative from truth. It's not an ontology in itself. Falsehood is what we call somebody deliberately misrepresenting the truth. So how can you have that if you cannot have certainty? How can you have you cannot have falsehood without the concept of truth? So this to me is what happens when it's like you're just smart enough to see the problems, but not wise enough to harmonize for the solution.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's saying, okay, it is impossible for us to know the ultimate reality of the physical world around us. That's impossible. Okay, fine. That's true. However, how do we treat one another? What is a human being? Things like that. Maybe we should start trying to figure out the answers to those questions.
Yep.
And realize that, well, if we can't tell the difference between what color an actual dress is, then we have to realize that color itself is a hallucination in your brain.
Yep.
There are no such thing as colors. All of these things are hallucinations. People can do what they want with it, but I mean, we just demonstrated it. And there's so much. I wish you guys, if it wasn't so boring, I would do a deep dive into Don Hoffman stuff and go into the math and shit. But anyway, this guy's really hitting on something.
You know what's interesting too? The concept of dreams. Like in a dream, if you remember your dream, like you have your senses, and like I've been in dreams where I would eat something and it tasted like what it would taste like.
Right.
And we've normalized it because we all do it every single night. But it is bizarre. Like, you know, you were asleep last night and, you know, I woke up and I was looking at you and I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, you're here, but you're gone. You're like completely gone. And it's like, well, where is his consciousness, and what is his consciousness doing, and what other consciousnesses, like if you remember your dreams, which I generally do, like sometimes I have repeat customers, you know, like people I see again, I'm like, oh, there's that person, you know, like it's just interesting. Or like last night, I mean, this is kind of cute, but I found you in my dream and you started dancing with me in a kitchen. And then I'm like, who was I dancing with? Like, you were asleep in the bed beside me. Like, who was that
Yeah.
the Vinny that, and who am I in my, it's just interesting, like consciousness and, you know, like how much we understand and what feels like reality when you're in it, but then when you come back awake, then there's a different reality. It's just, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. And then, you know, I guess people just start filling in the blanks and then making definitive statements, but they're contradictory, interestingly. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the human mind cannot distinguish between reality and what it vividly imagines, which is why dreams feel real. Well, what does real mean? When a person, like I knew a dude, if he was in a fight in a dream, he would do like this in
his sleep,
in his sleep.
in the body.
So,
Yeah.
like, are we saying it's not real because there isn't a physical person there fighting him? But on the mental side of things, his mind and body, or the automated systems within his person, did not believe it wasn't real, because it triggered, you know, these kinds of responses and things of that nature. So it's like,
Yeah.
when we say something is real, what are we talking about here? Like, am I real right now? You guys are looking at me. Well, I am real, but what you're looking at as a representation of me is not real.
Right. Yeah, you
know
guys are all
that
looking at pixels.
You're looking
What's up,
at
Mrs. Mudd?
You're looking at a bunch of pixels that's designed to represent me, but even if you were here in, quote, real life, you still wouldn't be seeing the real me if Kant is right, and I believe that he is. Right? Like, even if I was right in front of you, how do you know that your perception of me is the actual me, especially considering this dress situation we just did? Leah says, the ambiguity of the lighting leads some people's brain to interpret the dress as being in shadow, appearing black and blue, while others interpret it as being in light, appearing white and gold. That is a theory that they have as to why we perceive them differently.
Right, and I've read that theory before, but that doesn't work for me because when I look at the dress, I see a white and gold dress that's in the shadow. So I'm already perceiving a shadow. Like when you look at
I'm sure there's like 50 reasons. You see what I'm saying?
Right. That's why I'm saying that one didn't work for me, because I'm like, it's just not.
I'm pretty sure that initial explanation covers a lot of it. I just think that there are aspects to our perceptive abilities that we haven't even begun to realize yet, and that's because we assume that when we look at the moon, we're seeing the thing in itself. So, that's what I'm saying about the song. The song is, this guy is coming into sort of an epistemic crisis. And an epistemic crisis is a little bit different from a religious crisis. A religious crisis is to say, oh my God, I believe this thing was true, but now I find out it isn't true. Now what do I do? But an epistemic crisis is the idea of truth itself. Right? There's a difference between saying, I used to believe this and I thought it was true, now it's not. Mm-hmm. That's one crisis. But what about a crisis where you say to yourself, the concept of truth itself is gone? Okay? That is an epistemic crisis where you're like, hold on, we got to pull back. The entire operation is doomed from the beginning, from that paradigm. And I think he's right. I think Kant was right. And I think that the answer to that is a revelational epistemology. Meaning, if this world is some sort of a matrix, right? Some sort of, program run in the mind of a supercomputer or whatnot. Only people outside of that matrix can tell us what actual reality is. Nobody from within the matrix can do that. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, because by definition, you're in the matrix. And so, if there is here's what we know, here's what we believe. We believe that we're in a physical universe, that we do not have the perceptive abilities to measure accurately. So all of our perceptive abilities are not there in service of getting us to see the truth. Our perceptive abilities are given to us so that we can survive and replicate genes, right? So I'm giving a secular case for this. Yeah. Now, obviously, our assumptions are different, but our perceptive abilities, sight, hear, feeling, touch, all that shit, it's not designed for you to see the world as it is. It's designed for you to survive the longest and propagate the most genes. Okay? So there's no reason for you to see the world accurately. And quite frankly, Hoffman argues that if you were to see the world accurately, you would die in a day. Right? It's like if you're playing Fortnite and even in its simplified state, for us, Fortnite is still difficult to play. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to build. I mean, you're essentially programming a computer, when you're telling it to build. But what if you had to go behind the scenes and do all the shit that the engineers have to do to make that thing work? Like, you would not be able to compete with the rest of the players if you had to engage with Fortnite for what it really was. Yeah. Right? And so when you have that understanding, then you're no longer as traumatized by the fact that what you see is truly not what's actually there. It is an hallucination, and a lot of it is dependent on how many people around you see the same hallucination, and then all of you guys can conventionally call that hallucination XYZ thing, right? Which is one of the interesting things about the phenomenon, is that you'll have people in a crowd, there'll be 100 people in the crowd, 85 people will see it and not hear anything, and then the other 15 will hear something and not see anything. So it's weird to rely on our senses, our sense data, to get us to reality is obviously faulty on a bunch of different directions. But then the question would then be, well, then how in the world could we ever ascertain what reality is? Yeah. And in my view, the only answer to that is somebody from outside has to tell you what reality is in order for you to then get any hope. So I call that a revelational epistemology, where that God speaking to us is necessary for us to function in this world, because of the fact that our physical systems of sense data obviously they're not it. Yeah. But anyway, this song to me was this guy contending with that philosophical, contradiction.
I was listening to a song today. I won't even tell you guys what it is. You'd be so bored with the song. You'd be like, why would anybody listen to this? Alrighty, it was Jason Upton, Holy Spirit, or Father, Son, Holy Spirit, if you're interested. But it's definitely not this channel's fancy for sure. But anyway, as I was listening to this song, I got this thought in my head, and then I started thinking about thoughts, and I was like, thoughts are weird because they just come out of nowhere, seemingly. Sometimes you can say, oh, it's because I heard or saw this thing, and then that's where the thought kind of generated from. But there are some thoughts that kind of come out of nowhere. And then there are some thoughts, like, you know, most of us are like, oh, telepathic discussion would be pretty cool. But then you get these random thoughts, and sometimes they're accusatory. Sometimes like, I mean, you're such a blah, 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 you this or that, or you should, you know, sometimes they can be like really destructive. You see like oncoming traffic, you drive into the traffic, or, you know, like, it's like, where are these coming from? Because you weren't necessarily thinking like that before they came. And I thought, well, when we write something or books, those are just like written down thoughts. And if somebody comes up to you and keeps passing you pamphlets with random thoughts, you're not going to believe every pamphlet that gets passed to you. You're going to weigh it out. But sometimes with our thoughts, we don't even know where they came from. We know sometimes they're accusatory, or maybe we don't take the time to actually think, wait a minute, why did that thought just call me you? You this. What? Is that my thought then? Where is that thought coming from? Who's the voice behind that thought? And so I thought, wow, that's just so crazy how all of us are walking around with getting pelted by these thoughts without questioning them to say, I don't even know if I want to hear your voice anymore. And I was like, we have to get wise, where we recognize the voice that we should hear, which is obviously, you know, I'm a Christian, so I'm going to say that's the voice of our Father. That's the voice of God. And then we recognize that there are other voices that are out to destroy us. And those voices, we need to be quick to say, get the fuck out of here. I'm not listening to that thought, because that didn't originate from my Father. And all that's going to do is bring me to destruction. I was talking to my 4-year-old today, and he wanted to...
Tony in this bitch. What's up, Tony?
Hey, what's up?
Tony the Lone Ryan Smith in this bitch. One of the premier DJs in the village. You know what it is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. We have these bath paints, and he really wanted to do these bath paints. And his sister said, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z thing. When I come back, I'll do the bath paints with you. So he starts bawling his eyes out. And then I start talking to him about it. I'm like, why are you crying? Anyway, we figure out that he didn't like the idea of having to wait. So he was pretty upset about that. Well, we talked through the whole thing. And I could tell at the end of the discussion that he was feeling a bit better about it, because he did realize it was a little bit irrational to cry about something that he just had to be a little bit patient for. And so he's doing this because I can see like the corners of his mouth want to go up, but he's like holding it down. And I was like, you feel like smiling right now. And he was like holding it even more. And I'm like, honey, I said, you feel like smiling? And he said, yeah, but I like to be mad. And so I was like, this is so interesting, because he's only 4 years old. But I was explaining to him that when you keep practicing that, as you get older, eventually you almost kind of get stuck in mad. And then you don't have the corners of your mouth trying to come back up and be happy. Like, you're stuck in that. So I'm like, if you feel like being happy, that's God. He's trying to help you, like, go toward being happy. And so he, you know, he did. He kind of came out of it and, you know, went about his day. Even though he realized he lost the opportunity to do the paints tonight, he's going to have to wait till tomorrow. But I don't know. I just, sometimes when you have kids and you're talking to them about stuff, like, you want the best for them. So you're giving them the best advice that you have. But then you stop and think, like, wait, how come I didn't take that advice for myself? Because I did stay stuck in X, Y, and Z mode or whatever. But anyway, I guess the lesson that I was just trying to say, or the thing that I was looking at today, was just like, question those voices and don't just accept all of them, because we don't even know, like, what they all are and where they're all coming from.
Yeah,
so,
this is one of the very... I'm always saying that secularism has had so many like unforeseen detriments to it. This is one of them.
Yep.
Because now what ends up happening is, if you hear a voice, now it's, well, you're crazy. Mm-hmm. Because we know that there's no other world. We know that there are no entities that do not have physical bodies that can communicate with you. After all, we're materialists. We don't believe in anything that's not physical, although from a scientific perspective, I don't see how that works, because you have to assume that the laws of logic are real so that you can have a scientific method. And so you have an enterprise that claims materialism that is foundationally built on metaphysics. And the metaphysic you use to create the, quote, scientific method, somehow we're supposed to ignore the fact that it wasn't a physicalist methodology that gave you the scientific method. It was completely, especially if you're talking about Francis Bacon, that was a Christian enterprise. But if you say that there's no such thing as certainty, or that certainty is obsolete, then you can't have a scientific method by definition. Mm-hmm. And then the question becomes, well, wait a second, if we're having a jihad over the blue and black dress and the white and gold dress, you know, a lot of people, like, for example, the age of the earth, the universe, a lot of it has to do with our perceptions of color. If you know anything about redshift or blue shift, etc., right? So if the 14.6 billion number was partly influenced by our perceptions of color, that should tell you that secularism ain't it. That secularism as an enterprise can only get us so far, but it's a materialist worldview that necessitates metaphysics for it to work, but then denies metaphysical realities at the same time. So no, I just think it's a really big challenge that modern secular. That's why what's his face just came out and said he's a cultural Christian. Richard Dawkins, you know, one of the four horsemen of the atheist apocalypse.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a cultural. He basically says that Christianity is much better for the world. It's much better for the world than people
for the
thought.
culture.
Yeah, but like he made all his millions by like denouncing Christianity. But then he looks at the world. He's like, Christianity's not that bad.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say one more thing. Like, I know, you know, maybe I'm getting a little bit preachy, but you know what? This is a side of me you guys have not really seen. Like, this is me full stop. Like, this is as I am. But maybe this is why people call me Judjo. I don't know. The other thing too is with those voices, I've been really finding any Bible verses that are memorized to be really, really helpful. Because, so let's say there's a negative thought that comes in and it's an accusatory thought and it's like, you're X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 whatever. I keep going back to that one verse. It's Genesis 1:26 that says you're made that we're all, both male and female, are made in the image and likeness of God. This is an ancient Near Eastern text, which, if you know anything about the ancient Near East, women were not elevated to the same position as men. But here you have, like, at the very beginning, God starts it just sounds like something that, like, if a God created these beings and he made them all equal, that he would want that known right from the beginning. And so that to me is like, anytime I get like this thought that's like comes out from out of nowhere and it just comes at me and it's accusing me of being something other than that, or it doesn't, like, you can recognize that you're a shitty person and be like, okay, I shouldn't have done this, and this. But then at that point, I turn away from the you're made in the image and likeness of God, and I look to Jesus on the cross, and I'm like, I got a cross there for that. So I'm like literally stuck in between made in the image and likeness of God and Jesus' crucifixion on the cross that makes me right with God. And I'm like such in a good place right there, stuck in the middle. So although it like protects you on all the sides from all these thoughts that just want to run your life. Anyway, that's
yeah, and this was a major kind of fascinating cultural moment where people were talking about people that don't have internal dialogue.
I know, I can't believe that's true.
Hey,
does anybody here not have internal dialogue?
It was such a strange moment for everybody. We're like, wait, what? Because somebody shot a YouTube video. They're like, people hear things in their head, and it was funny because I was looking at them talk about it, and they have never had internal dialogue in their life.
That must be weird to them.
So they're like, there are these people, and they say they hear things in their head. And the guy's like, what? No. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because I'm looking at the comment section, and the comment section was like, yo, y'all are lying. There's no way, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, looking at it, I'm like, human beings are so hilarious.
So they don't.
I'm like, so
think
because
about
these
stuff?
two don't have internal dialogue, that means none of us do, and all of us are crazy for hearing shit in our head that really isn't there. And quite frankly, from a materialist perspective, they're right. They're absolutely right from a materialist perspective. What do you mean you hear shit in your head? What does that mean?
Right.
Like, what part of the brain controls that? The non-audible voices. Think about what you're saying. Like, so it was fascinating because I was in the atheist chat at the time. They're like, really? You talk to God? Yep. And he says things back to you? Yep. Where do you hear this? In your head? Yep. Ha 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 ha. Like,
as if that's like miles away from other people saying that they heard their mother, their mom said something really hurtful to them fucking 20 years ago, and they say, I can still hear it.
Yeah.
Nobody says, well, your mother's been dead for 10 years. What
Right.
are you talking about? We understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to fill in all the blanks, right? Because all of us have a metaphysical assumption about what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden when it comes to God and angels and things like that, now you're crazy, now you believe in stupidness and all the rest of it. So then God's like, okay, well, let's show up as aliens. Maybe they'll believe that. Oh,
Acceptable.
There-
Let's believe everything they say.
we don't know about you, sir, with the long fucking, very old, elderly looking kind of person. Okay, you're out there, creating shit just ex nihilo. We're not sure about you, but the aliens. Song gets a 9.8 from me. Later, Leah.
Yeah, I'd match it.
It's a 9.8 from me.
All right, you guys, up next we have a band you may have heard of before. It's Blood Ceremony, Powers of Darkness.
Powers of Darkness, dear listener. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Subhanallah.